Here are 5 things that only truck drivers would understand, because only truck drivers will have experienced these things. Now, I know I've told this story before and on YouTube too, but I'm going to reiterate it because it was so bloody awful. I got food poisoning on the road one time from a Subway. I stopped in Las Cruces, New Mexico at the Subway, got a sub, and I was headed west. Oh man, I only got a few hours down the road. I think I got just inside Arizona somewhere, and I didn't feel good. I wheeled into a rest area. I thought, well, I'll go for a little walk, and I felt worse and worse. And I ended up lying in the back of the truck with the hatch door open for a couple of days, just ralphing my guts out. It was bloody awful, and that was so many years ago, but I've never forgotten it. And anyone that's ever been sick on the road will remember that like there's no tomorrow, because it's bloody awful. You don't know if you should call an ambulance. You don't know if you should try to drive to the hospital yourself. You don't know what to do, and you don't want to make a fool out of yourself. You don't want to call an ambulance and get a 50-mile ride into the hospital to find out, oh, you're okay. So it's awful. It's an awful thing. And part of the awful part of it is that you just don't know what you should do next. I just lay there and suffered through it. And only a truck driver could understand that feeling from being so sick on the road in such a desolate spot and not knowing what to do about it with no help. Something else you may have experienced as a truck driver, and maybe even some car drivers have experienced this too. I never have in the car, but I certainly have in the truck, is being broken down in the winter on the side of the road for hours out in the middle of nowhere. That is absolutely no fun. I broke down in an old cab over Freightliner one time, and the thing just quit. So there was no heat or no anything. It must have been about minus 20 or minus 30. It was up here in Northern Ontario. A motorist stopped and asked, if I needed help. And this is in the days before cell phone. He drove me to some place where I could make a phone call, and then he dropped me back off at the truck because I was hauling fuel. So you couldn't really leave the truck for too long. It was sitting on the side of the road. So I had to go back to the truck and wait. There was no heat. And I ended up pulling down the curtain between the bunk and the cab and wrapping myself up in this darn curtain just to try to stay warm. And these cab overs were so cold, I was already wearing a snowmobile suit and snowmobile boots, and I still was just about frozen to death by the time the tow truck showed up about 3 hours later to drag the truck into civilization. That is a god-awful feeling, and I hope you guys never have to experience it. But that's something that truck drivers can certainly appreciate, because almost all of them at one time or another have been broken down on the side of the road in bad weather. Now, something else that's awful that the truck drivers can certainly understand. Now, maybe traveling salesmen or somebody like that could understand this as well, but truck drivers miss special occasions at home. They miss birthdays, they miss kids' football games, they miss anniversaries. I damn near missed Christmas one year. Truck drivers miss all the special occasions, or almost all the special occasions, that you should be at home enjoying them with your family or not. I was on the road when both my mom and my father passed away 2 separate times, and I was thousands of miles away. I didn't even know. I should have been there. But that's part of the problem with being a truck driver, is you're rarely home. And that's an awful feeling when you get a phone call and something like that has happened and you're thousands of miles from the rest of your family. And truck drivers can certainly appreciate how bad a feeling that is. The next thing I'm going to talk about is something that four-wheelers can't possibly understand, because you'd have to be a truck driver to experience this. But it is an awful, awful feeling to be in a semi lost in a great big city with narrow streets, corners you can't make, and not knowing where the heck you're going. That's an awful feeling, being lost in a tractor trailer. Cars just can't appreciate that same feeling. And you're wondering how you're going to get out of the situation. You're wondering where to turn, if you're going to end up damaging the truck and trailer. It's an awful feeling. Nobody likes that feeling, and it's downright scary. And you come around, you manage to make a corner, and there's a low bridge, or you can't make the corner because there's cars parked there, or a fire hydrant or something like that, and you're literally stuck. Sometimes the roads and how narrow they are literally end up steering you in a direction you don't want to go, because you can't make the right-hand turn. So you got to make the left-hand turn, and you don't want to go that way, and it's a bloody awful feeling, let me tell you that. Now, while being lost in a big city can be scary, but it's not in the same league of scary as coming sideways down a mountain on a slippery road or something like that. Losing control of the truck in bad weather or in any situation, not being able to stop quick enough if someone cuts you off or some kid runs out in front of you or on his bike or something like that. It is a scary feeling. It's a heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching feeling. Or to slide the thing, that words can't describe that kind of fear. Coming down the mountain with a tractor trailer out of control. And that's happened to me. And there are no words to describe it. There is no fear for me greater than that, than anything that I can think of. It's just, I can't describe it, but it's something truck drivers have felt and experienced in the course of their career sometimes. And let me tell you, it's a fear that you never want to have to live through again. That's the best way to describe it, because you don't know what's going to happen, but you know nothing good is going to happen. Now, I was always lucky. I was always able to drive my way out of a situation like that. Only ever happened a couple times, and I was in the mountain both times when it happened, but I was able to steer out, and I kind of got lucky. But man, it's an awful feeling, and there's something only truck drivers would understand. It's certainly not one that I hope you get to experience. It happens sometimes to truck drivers. Now, if you guys have any stories like that, any experiences that scared the living crap out of you, for instance, let me know. Tell me some of the stories. I'd be curious to know what you've been through, because everyone has stories and has had adventures and misadventures out there. In the meantime, truckers, stay safe, keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you on the back haul.